Hello and welcome to Qtr Time podcast in partnership with Carbon Jacked. I'm Lucy G.
And I'm Lucy P. And we're here to bring you all the netball goodness you never knew you needed.
We're delighted to say that this series of Qtr Time podcasts is supported by Carbon Jacked, an environmental startup that helps you combat climate change.
They are an awesome company that provide monthly memberships which plant trees, support epic climate projects, and help you to reduce your carbon footprint.
Memberships start from just £2.50 per month, so you can help save the planet for less than a cup of coffee.
Signing up is super easy. Go to carbonjacked.com and enter NetballPod for a huge 30% off. The link is in our show notes. Go check it out.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 12 of Qtr Time podcast. Boy, we had a huge weekend of netball last weekend, didn't we, Luce? 10 big games. We absolutely loved being at the spring showdown. Atmosphere was incredible. So much netball. I love it. So, Luce, what's coming up on the show today?
So firstly, we will recap the news from this week. We'll go through our 3-word summaries of round 13 and 14 of the Vitality Netball Superleague before moving on to our games of the round and our players of the round. Our special topic today is a really important one. To celebrate Earth Day this week, we'll be discussing the environment, sustainability and netball with Jess Rogers, Creative Director of Carbon Jacked, and Steph Carvelis, COO of Netball Scotland. Our conversation covers sustainability partnerships in netball, how the netball community can all take action to tackle climate change and why we're well placed to do so, the future of major sporting events in relation to their environmental impact, and so much more.
This is such an exciting one. It's something that I think has been quite unexplored previously. So I cannot wait to dig into this.
Yeah, defo.
So moving on to the news from this week in the netballing world. Obviously, when we released our episode last week, that was just after Anna Stenbridge announced that she was also stepping down from her coaching role at Team Bath. And I was not expecting that one.
No, me neither. Definitely came out of the blue, ironically.
Yeah. That's actually quite funny. I mean, as surprising as it was, you know, fair play to her, wanting to spend more time with family. Congratulations on a fantastic career and wish her all the best and can't wait to see again who steps into her shoes.
Yeah, definitely. Also this week, we had the Aussie Diamonds long squad announcement. Very, very interesting. I think the main overriding thing was the omission of Kim Ravalian, who's been in fantastic form. As an England fan, rubbing my hands together about that omission, to be honest with you. Sorry, Diamonds fans. But no, I think it's just crazy that she wasn't included, but also amazing that Donnell Wallam was featured. So that's really good news.
Yeah, I mean, I think Donnell Wallam just had to be in that long squad, even just to be in the environment, to be testing the defenders. But alongside Kim Rav, and I know the netball world is absolutely up in arms about it, but I'm up in arms about Maddie Proud.
Yeah,
I think she's in sensational form. I could not believe that she was not in there. Devo, justice for Maddie Proud and Rav.
Yeah. I just think they've got so many good players that always there was going to be somebody who misses out. But I think we'll have that when we have our long squad selection anyway, because there's been so many good players who've had outstanding VNSL seasons.
Yeah, what a place to be in, right?
So taking a look at our 3-word summaries for the bumper round 13 and 14 that we just had. First up on Saturday was Lightning versus Storm, with Lightning taking a narrow victory 57-54. And I said, oh, so close. It was a bit of a shaky start for Lightning, who definitely noticed the hole that Panagari and Cholok left with their absence from the squad. But they regained composure and demonstrated the depth of their bench, bringing the likes of youngster Emma Thacker out onto court. Storm were impressive for 99% of the game, I would say, with a great never say die attitude, but some silly errors in crucial moments just let this one slip from their fingers.
Yeah, what a match though. Following this game was Rhinos versus Dragons, with Dragons taking the win 55-51, and I've gone for well. Hello, Celtic Dragons. honestly, the joy that radiated off the entire team at the end of this game was palpable, and you just love to see it. I think Dragons really impressed from the word go in this game, and they were able to stand up to that pressure and really just hold their nerve in those crunch moments. I'm loving the Nia Jones, Roddy, Green Knoll combo. It's such a gritty unit and is turning over so much ball. There was 14 turnovers between them, with 11 of them belonging to Shaquanda Green Knoll. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this was a great one to see, wasn't it? Next up, we had Thunder versus Sirens, with Thunder taking a massive win, 73-51. And I said, a different league.
Yeah.
Thunder were incomprehensibly good in the first half of this game, scoring 40 goals, which is the highest halftime score of the season, and giving them a 21 goal cushion to test out combinations in the second half, including Shadeen van der Merwe in goalkeeper for some reason, and a bunch of their youngsters out on court as well. Sirens suffered an injury to Neve McCall in this game, but even prior to that, they didn't really turn up, and Gia Abernathy described their first half performance as pathetic. Yikes.
I mean, I love that, like brutal honesty. Let's have more of it. It's great. Next up was Wasps versus Pulse, with Pulse taking the win 44-38, and I've gone for more consistency needed. This was a bit of a funny game. The highest score in a quarter was only 13, and it was pretty scrappy, and it had a lot of what Mel Mansfield described as unforgivable errors. There are a few key changes, however, that made the difference, and it did feel closer than the scoreline actually suggests. I think Huckle was outstanding on Cheen in this game. She had a rebound, 5 intercepts, 3 deflections, 7 turnovers, but only 7 penalties, which I think is incredible. You know, she kept coming up with turnovers, but it was the errors in attack that let Wasps down once again.
Yeah, story of their season, unfortunately. Finally, on Saturday, Mavericks versus Stars, with Mavs taking the win 58-44. And I said errors in attack. Yeah. This was another super scrappy game. It was so heavy on turnovers, 18 for Mavs and 17 for Stars. And whilst Mavs were by no means clinical, they did have more moments of magic than the struggling Stars. It was a case of both defense ends getting the turnovers, but then the attack ends just completely wasting it. They're just decision-making, basic errors, not the best that we've seen from either side, really. That being said, Jodie Gibson was outstanding with 7 intercepts, 5 deflections and 9 turnovers. We also saw Temelisi Whakahakatal make her VNSL debut, which was great to see. Unfortunately, it was just as Kat Tuiviti left the court, so we didn't get to see them face off, which was annoying.
One day. Oh no, we won't now, will we? Because that's the second time they've played.
Oh no, don't break my heart, Luce.
Oh, we've been denied.
Oh, never mind.
First up on Sunday, Bath versus Rhinos, with Rhinos taking the win 64-54, and I've gone for Cats Amongst Pigeons. What a game, man. Coming into this game, Rhinos had lost 4 games in a row, something that they've never done since starting last season, and they'd also never beaten Team Bath, but wowee, did they step up in this game. Honestly, Rebecca Airy could have been mistaken for the Easter Bunny in this game, because she seriously had the hops, and this defence line were just smothering. I think for Bath, following the news that Anna Stenbridge will be stepping down, they just seemed a bit unsettled, and I think this loss means that they've made their race to the top 4 a whole lot harder.
Yeah, definitely. Bit of a danger sign for them.
For sure.
Next up, we had Dragons versus Lightning, with Lightning taking a narrow win 56-52. And Vicky Sutton said on Twitter, grit, determination, courage, which I think really sums up this one. Yeah. It was another cracker of a game. And I really started to believe at one point that Dragons were going to do it, that they were going to topple the champs. But in that last quarter, they just had a couple of silly errors that cost them the game. I really think in this one, they began to play as if they were in fear of losing rather than playing for the win.
Yeah,
and we really started to see the next generation of Lightning talent, with Emma Thacker, who we've mentioned, and Ella Bowen having the opportunity to shine. And I think it was a really important chance for Lightning to show what they're made of without 2 key superstars.
Yeah, what a game that was. Loved that one. Next up was Storm versus Thunder, with Thunder taking an enormous win, 80-50. And I've gone for 30-goal difference. Thunder were frankly unstoppable in this one, and it's the largest winning margin of the season and the highest number of goals scored by a team this season. It's just incredible. Thunder's quarter-by-quarter score was 14, 20, 22 and 24. Like, you're meant to taper off towards the end of the game because you're tired. They just kept going on, and it's insane stuff. The volume that they can put up is immense. There were 37 fees for Nat Metcalf, and her combination with Cardwell is just lethal, stunning. Storm did have to shuffle the pack defensively, but they just really struggled to make a dent in this Thunder side. They're impossible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So many people have been saying this week we need to see a super club competition with them facing like Magpies or Southern Steel or someone like that, because they're too good. They're just too good.
Well, I genuinely think that they would challenge as well, because they're just full of international stars. Like 100%, let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, next up, it was Pulse versus Mavericks, with Pulse taking the win 53-46. And I said, vengeance for Pulse.
Yes.
This was the revenge match, bearing in mind Mavericks beat Pulse narrowly by just 2 goals last time back in round 3. And you could just see the intent from both teams and the physicality and the battles everywhere on court. And this could well have a very big impact on the top 4 come the end of the season. Both the wing attacks for Pulse, Ash Decker and Alicia Scholes, were player of the match this weekend, and it's clear how much the side has improved in attack since last season. It's just like a different team.
Oh, unquestionably. Like Liz Scholes in particular, wow, she knocked my socks off. Absolutely loved her.
Incredible.
And final game of the bumper round of netball, it was Stars versus Wasps, with Stars taking the win 56-47. I've gone for finding their flow. Stars did it! Woohoo! They broke their losing streak and they got their second win of the season. Qtr Time, sensational, put up 25 from 26, and with Reed and Harris kind of sharing that load in goal attack, they were really able to keep Wasps guessing, and they kept Huckle pretty much out of the game. What I like about this sort of attacking end, the Leota Tuiviti combo, is that they're bringing the players around them into the game, and I think it's now starting to pay off. For a Wasp perspective, it was a difficult one for them to take. They really seem frustrated at the moment, and Mel Mansfield certainly didn't mince her words in the post-match interview.
Yeah, I think she said something like, how many times have I got to stand here and say that it's, that it's not gone well? It was not good. But on a positive note, all the teams now have at least 2 wins this season, which is so awesome.
Yeah, and it's a marked improvement from last season, like it's great to see.
Definitely. So moving on to our games of the round. So first up, I've gone for, very unsurprisingly, Pulse versus Mavericks.
Yes.
I was super impressed by Pulse in this game. It wasn't that they necessarily had particular standout players, but just everyone did their job and they really just ground it out. Although it was a bit of a shaky start, they took around 7 minutes or so to find their groove. I do think as well that in the beginning, particularly, Gibson was all over McDonald in that first half. It was very close, and it was one of those games where it really could have gone either way. And I think we saw that rivalry from both teams in terms of the physicality and the different challenges that people were putting in. It was the third quarter, though, that kind of did Mavs in, to be honest. They only scored 7, and I had a look back, and the only other time that they've scored as low as 7 in a quarter this season was their round 6 loss to Loughborough Lightning.
Wow. Yeah, it's a really interesting one. And in terms of, that ability that they have to win ball as a team, they only had 9 turnovers in the game. And I think for a side that's got the likes of Jodie Gibson, Raz Quashie, that's pretty low. And I think what stuck out for me from a Pulse perspective is that they were so careful with ball throughout this match. They only had 4 unforced errors.
Wow.
And they just didn't give Mavs much of a chance to dictate the game defensively.
Yeah, I think it was that it was that thing where it's a game that came down to key turnovers and key moments.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be the Kadeen Corbin intercept or hands over ball pressure in the last quarter. I was like, oh, this is the turning point. Mavs have got it now. But actually, it wasn't that at all. It completely switched around. And I think it was Everett and Peckover who got some really important turnovers in like those dying minutes. But it could have easily gone the other way if Mavs had stood up. It was really, really interesting game. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I could watch that time and time again. In fact, I'm probably going to watch it this evening. Why not? Yeah, absolute corker.
Which one have you gone for, Luce?
So I've gone for Rhinos versus Dragons, and I'm sure the lovely Vicky Sutton, who's the CEO of Wales Netball, for those who don't know, might be a little bit pleased about this one. I just think, like, how good was this win? You know, Dragons have been so close, but no cigar for the last, like, 5-6 rounds. And so to see them get this win over a potential top 4 contender was just incredible. Dragons were by no means clinical. Like, let's not get that confused. They actually had 12 unforced errors to Rhino's 6. And I think it's rare, actually, that a team with more unforced errors wins the game. But it just proves how hard that defense were working.
Yeah, I mean, Shaquanda Green-Knoll in this game, her stats were 2 rebounds, 6 interceptions, 9 deflections, 11 turnovers, which is just redonkulous. But it's actually the shutdown game from the players out in front of her, which is what allows her to pick up that ball at the back. 20 deflections in total for Dragons. 20!
Yeah. And this is what I was saying, like in the summary, it's that combination out front. They're just so gritty and I'm absolutely loving it. But from an attacking perspective, I do think there's still more work to do in terms of Georgia Rowe and her strength on the hold, or just her strength generally. But that being said, her combination with Radaman is really starting to sing. You know, Rowe's incredibly accurate. She put up 40 from 41 and Radaman 15 from 17. I'm finding that Radaman's really playing that like playmaker role, but crucially she's not afraid to go to post. And I think that's where, if you compare it with someone like a Storm, you know, like an Emma McGee, she's doing the playmaker role, but she's not going to post as much. So Radaman's just killing it. And I think for Rhinos, if they hadn't have come out and beaten Bath the next day, I would have said that their top 4 chances are just out the window.
Yeah.
You know, Rhinos were getting a bit frustrated in this game. They ended up with 77 penalties to Dragons 53. But on the plus side for them, Ziggy Berger shot 42 from 45 at 93%. And probably, I know we say this every episode now because she's getting better and better, but she probably had her best game of the season again.
Yeah, I really agree. I think that Ziggy is building in confidence so much in the recent weeks, and I'm actually loving the combination with Grierson out in front of her as well. But yeah, this was a real off day for Rhinos, and I was worried for them after this game.
Yeah, and what I found curious about this is that Tracy said in the post-match interview that the players are lacking belief in themselves and in each other. But that's just so un-Rhinos like for me. You know, that was one of the strengths that I would have said they had last season. So yeah, really curious.
Yeah, definitely.
So moving on to our players of the round. Hit me, Luce. Who you gone for?
Okay, so this week I have gone for the awesome Lucy Herdman.
Oh, nice.
She's had some really solid stats this week, and she was very consistent across both matches. 2 rebounds, 4 intercepts, 2 deflections, 7 turnovers in the first one, 4 intercepts, 4 deflections, 5 turnovers in their second one. You know, that is consistency if ever I've seen it. Tamsin actually described her as unassuming, which I think is very accurate. But when you look at the ladder, she's top 5 for intercepts and turnovers, but not for top 5 in the penalties charts. So I think that's why she kind of goes unnoticed. She gets in amongst it very cleanly. You never see her make a fuss. She just goes about her business, and it's just one of those really solid players. She was absolutely crucial in the win over Wasps. And although I will admit I wasn't initially sold on her in goal defense because I think she's much stronger in goalkeeper, I do think that combination with Summer Artman might continue to grow, and maybe there's a little flavour of something there that we might learn to like over the next few weeks. Also, the fact that Lucy can just shoot the lights out at fast fives just makes you think she must be the coolest person ever. I mean, that's so good, isn't it?
I mean, I love a versatile queen, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'm all over it. So, yeah, great week for her. Love it.
Defo. Who have you gone for, Luce?
So I've actually gone for one of my all-time favourite players. It's Ellie Cardwell.
Nice. Great choice.
I just love her. She shot 100% casual, as you do, 30 from 30 against Sirens, had 1 rebound and 0 unforced errors. And against Storm, she shot 47 from 53, 88%, probably slightly lower than what we normally get from her, but she had 2 rebounds and 13 feeds as well. I honestly just don't know what defenders can do about her. I think she is deadly. And for me, I'm probably going to get absolutely dragged on social media now, but she is my starting Roses goal shooter.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think she gets it over Harton for me, hands down. Yeah. I just don't see a universe where she isn't in the Commonwealth Games squad. I think her strength, the use of her body, the angles that she holds, her split, her confidence to go to post, there just isn't a chink in her armour this season at all. And I know we've said it before and I'll say it again, I would love to see her out in SSN. I just don't really feel like she's properly been tested this season. I don't know. What can you say about her? Oh, and don't even get me started on those one-handed takes. I mean,
yeah.
Stop.
So I tried to practice them the other day. And I think you will probably not be surprised to learn that it didn't go well. I don't know how she is doing that. I mean, we need to check her for Velcro. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, what a partnership, right? If there's ever a sponsorship from an organisation, it's got to be Velcro for Ellie Cardwell, right? Get on it, guys.
Yeah, it is ridiculous how she does that. Although sometimes I do think I can hear my coach's voice in my ear screaming, 2 hands, because if, it's a bead of sweat in the wrong place, it can all be over. So I do hope that she doesn't do that too much at the international level, but it does look really cool.
It really does. She's just sensational. I adore her.
Yeah, we're big fans. Before we move on to our interview, I think it'll be quite cool for us to just recap who we think is going to get into the top 4 by the end of the season. Now we're sort of three quarters of the way through, roughly.
Yeah, we've got 5 rounds left now.
Yeah. So should we try and say it at the same time and see how it goes?
Yeah. Okay. Are we doing rankings? So top of the table, then second, then third and fourth?
Yeah. Okay.
So we say after 3, 1, 2, 3, and then say it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Ready?
Yep.
So top position. 1, 2, 3. Thunder. Yes. Okay. Second. 1, 2, 3. Lightning. Yeah. Great. Third. 1, 2, 3. Bath.
Oh
my God. Okay. It all comes down to this.
It's so in sync. Okay.
Last one, 4th position. 1, 2, 3.
Pulse. Oh, yes! As usual, we agree on everything.
I mean, great minds think alike, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's pretty much guaranteed. Well, it's definitely guaranteed now for Thunder. Congratulations to them. Yeah, and I mean, Lightning, you've got to expect will be up there. But yeah, it's also, I mean, Mavericks, can they do it?
I mean, technically, yes, they can. Like, same as Rhinos, but I just have a feeling that they're going to do that classic Mavs thing and just crumble towards the back end of the season.
But what about with Venter back, potentially?
But we don't know when she is back. So it's hard to say. I would not be surprised if they did boot someone out of the top 4. But yeah, I'm going for Bath and Pulse.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I would love to know, I can't do the maths on it. I've tried to look at the combinations and how they'll go and whether it's possible, but it's just bamboozling. I can't do it. If anyone can, please let us know if you can do the, routes to the final and things like that. It's really exciting to see that sort of stuff, but my brain just can't work it out.
And also let us know what your top 4 predictions are. If you think ours are trash, let us know. Who's your 1, 2, 3, 4? We'd love to see it.
Definitely. Coming up next, we chat to Jess Rogers from Carbon Jacked and Steph Carvelis from Netball Scotland about all things sustainability, netball and the environment. Join the likes of Tamsin Greenway, Gia Ebenethi and us to become a Carbon Jacked member and combat climate change. It's just £2.50 per month and you'd be doing your bit and helping to protect the planet.
We really think that netballers can make a difference, and so do Carbon Jacked. That's why they support this podcast. They're helping England Netball plant trees for goals scored in the Vitality Netball Superleague and are Netball Scotland's sustainability partner.
Go to carbonjack.com to become a member today and use NetballPod for 30% off. Link is in the show notes. It is an enormous pleasure to welcome Jess Rogers and Steph Carvelis to the pod. Welcome, guys.
Hi, thanks for having us.
So before we get into some questions, Jess, I'm going to come to you first. Do you mind telling us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Definitely, yes. I'm Jess. I used to be head of Super League and major events at England Netball, and now most of the time I am co-founder and creative director of Carbon Jacked. I set this environmental startup a couple of years ago with the two Jacks, and basically Carbon Jacked is all about helping individuals and businesses combat climate change. We obviously know both you, Lucy's, quite well because we partner with the podcast, which we absolutely love. And we're basically all about inspiring people to get out into nature and help protect the planet. Basically, at Carbon Jacked, we've got two parts of the business. On the individual side, we have awesome monthly memberships, which plant trees and they support epic climate projects and they ultimately reduce people's carbon footprint. And on the business side, we help businesses become more sustainable, whether that's with their net zero strategies, help them write that, or we do carbon footprint calculations, or we give them sustainable employee membership benefits.
One of the things I absolutely love about Carbon Jacked is is it like your motto, like saving the planet shouldn't be boring? I freaking love that. I think that's great.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I can't take full credit. I do look after the creative and the fun stuff, as I say, but yeah, saving the planet shouldn't be boring. We want to bring a new light to sustainability and how it should be seen.
Amazing. And same question to you, Steph. What's your role at Netball Scotland?
So I am Chief Operating Officer at Netball Scotland. I only joined the organisation in August of last year, so I'm pretty new in, and then I had a bit of a cheek and went off on mat leave at Christmas time. So I'm still keeping my finger on the pulse in terms of what's happening. So my role really is about supporting the wider team, the experts of netball gurus that we have here in Scotland to deliver everything from grassroots netball right the way through to the franchise Strathclyde Sirens.
Brilliant. Okay, so now we're all introduced. We will dive straight into our topic for today is around sustainability in netball. And firstly, we know that Carbon Jacked are a sustainability partner for Netball Scotland. So Steph, are you able to share some more information on this? What does the partnership look like in practice?
So from a Netball Scotland perspective, we were really keen to put our marker in the sand in terms of sustainability. I guess you look at other sports and there's some great things happening, but from our perspective, there's nothing really tangible long-term that's happening in Scotland and in netball in particular. So we were like, right, this is a really good opportunity for us to make sure that we can partner with a credible startup such as Carbon Jacked to make sure that we can influence positive behaviour change and make a meaningful impact against the climate crisis. So essentially, we're looking at a multi-year partnership, working with Carbon Jacked to promote the partnership, influence behaviour change using our athletes to do that, and make sure that we can then share that across the governing body. So we've got a membership of all netball players in Scotland, which is always ever growing. So we've got a really great platform to be able to share those messages around how we can do better as society. And it's really about that moral obligation that we all have to kind of make the planet and leave it in a better place when our time's done.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you alluded to there, a partnership like this is pretty rare in netball. Team Bath, I think, have an environmental partner in Ecos, who are working with the club to become more sustainable. And in Australia, Netball Victoria are partnered with the Sport Environment Alliance. But apart from those examples, and obviously yourselves, there really isn't a lot out there. So, Steph, why do you think there are not more sustainability partnerships in netball?
I think if we take out the last 2 years and everything that's happened, maybe more would have happened sooner. I think that's definitely thrown a spanner in the works in terms of our sport in particular, just trying to recover and reset and rebuild from the pandemic. But also I think the question is more in general in sport. You know, there should be more in sport, full stop. We see a wee bit here and there. There's some clubs that do it really well, some organisations that are really leading the way. But as a whole, as an industry, sport need to be better at recognising their impact, whether that's travel for teams globally, locally, etc., events, the amount of people that are coming through turnstiles. And we should be doing more because we have such a great platform to be able to affect small change, which then scales up as we go along. So I think it's, aside from the fact that netball has its own challenges, being a female-dominated sport, the fact that in the UK and Scotland in particular, where we're battling against other sports for coverage and visibility and awareness, it's not just that, it's just sport as a whole for me and for Netball Scotland, recognising that we need to actually put the marker in the stand and lead the way. Almost put that peer pressure on other sports to do the same.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a snowball effect, isn't it? Starting with those kind of smaller changes and projects. And you mentioned there about flights, and we know that for the Barbados series, Carbon Jacked were working together with Netball Scotland to calculate and offset the carbon emissions associated with the travel of the Barbados team. Jess, can you explain what carbon offsetting means and some of the positives and the negatives?
Yeah, totally. So carbon offsetting is often spoken quite a lot in the media, and it's essentially putting money towards a project to offset the carbon that was created by something. So flights are typically, rather bad for the environment, and they produce a lot of CO2. So we worked with Steph to find a project that we went to a renewable energy project that basically offset the carbon from that. But with carbon offsetting, it's a little bit of a tricky one. On the positive side, ultimately, you're giving money to an environmental project, which is brilliant, and it's always better to do that than not. But on the negative side, you have the fact that some companies offset instead of reduce their emissions. And we're all about, encouraging people to reduce. We all need to reduce CO2 going out instead of just offset. And with that, some companies can mislead consumers and make slightly false claims. But if you do it, you just need to do it right. You just need to do it with verified projects, with a verified company that you trust, and with a really good project, basically.
So it's almost like the best thing is to not create the emissions, but if you have to, there's other steps that you can take to reduce the impact.
Absolutely. Reduction is always first. And then if there's anything left over, then you can look at what options you have.
I mean, I think it's great to sort of hear about this and for individuals to start realising on a very local level the kind of small impact that they can have, which then, as Steph, you said earlier, collectively builds up to quite a large impact. Steph, you mentioned as a sport in general, netball has a number of hurdles that it's trying to overcome, from exposure in media, from broadcasting. There's so many different things that we're trying to tackle. Why have Netball Scotland chosen to make this, sustainability a priority over other sort of social impact areas?
So I guess not going to lie, this is really important to me. So when I joined the organisation, I made that very clear. This is something that I'm really passionate about, but actually as an organisation, this is a really big opportunity for us to kind of lead the way in Scotland. Like, there is no other club in Scotland. We're doing a wee bit here and a wee bit there, which is great, but there's no other club in Scotland or organisation that's actually committing to a partnership in sustainability where we can go out and make these tangible differences and recognise where we are and benchmark, and then understand how we improve, not just for the team, for the franchise of Strathclyde Sirens, but for the entire governing body and all the players and members that we have. So in terms of us and our prioritisation of this, it also coincided with COP26, which was hosted in Glasgow last year. Again, we saw loads of a flurry of activity, which was great. I'm not sure how much of that has actually come to fruition in terms of longevity across the city and the country. But we decided actually this is something that we want to make sure that we are continuing past November last year. So the internationals in Barbados was just us dipping our toe in the water, really, to understand what we can do. We're now working with Carbon Jacked around the remaining games that we have for this season. And then we can really, once we return fully to our events and get our crowds back up, we can then start to understand how we can make really impactful changes on scale at those events, and then disseminate that information throughout so that we're leaving everything in a better place. It's just, morally and ethically, we should be doing this, and we shouldn't shy away from the fact that because we're sport, we're not obligated to this. We are. we are contributing, and small changes make a big difference.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's one of the things that the general netball public has really admired about Netball Scotland and Strathclyde Sirens, in that you guys are being so pioneering at the moment with your, Headlines Not Sidelines campaign. There's so many different things that you guys are doing, even just in your game day space, like the book swap and the kit donation. There was so many different things that you guys are doing that are really pioneering. And I think it's great to see you now moving into the sustainability space as well. Jess, we know that the environment is a hugely, hugely important issue, but why do you think that netballers in particular, as opposed to any other sport, should be concerned with sustainability, and how can we each individually play our part?
Well, firstly, like, netballers are the best people in the world. So
of course.
Amen.
Exactly. So therefore, they've got great morals, and they can play a really good part. They're generally passionate people. I won't go down all the great things about netballers, but essentially, netballers should play their part because we all live on the planet Earth, you know. We all enjoy walking down the street without pollution. We all want to go to green spaces. We all hopefully want to leave the planet as a good place for our children and grandchildren to be able to enjoy. It's everyone's problem without going any further down that. And I believe that netballers, if you're talking whether at the elite level, would they have a voice? They have the ability to persuade people, enact change, and encourage people to do good. For example, I was just chatting and doing a piece with Gia from Sirens about how she always buys secondhand books, and about the book swap at Sirens. And with athletes having that powerful voice, they can encourage other people to do the same. But if we're talking netballers, even at like grassroots level, I mean, if you guys play netball in London outside, how much nicer would it be if it was really clean air to be throwing that ball around, and no pollution? So it's just little things like that, and everyone can play their part. Energy, travel, food are the key things where you can make a difference.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I think one of the reasons in our mind why we think netball in particular is like there's a good synergy here is that we almost have a responsibility to, as being predominantly female led, to kind of take up this space. And there's a really interesting statistic from the Women's Environmental Network that found that 80% of people displaced by climate change are women. And numerous studies have found that the economic and social impacts of severe weather events are disproportionately felt by women. There's also another study that found that women in leadership positions create and improve climate change policy more often than men. So it's almost like it's geared directly towards us as netballers in a way.
Definitely. And it's emotional as well, isn't it? It really is, and it tugs at your heartstrings. Well, it should, hopefully. And it is often women who bear the brunt, and often women, for example, are still predominantly the people who purchase most goods for the home, for example. And that's one place you can make a lot of changes as a woman in your home, depending on what you buy, depending on how you recycle, depending on what food you eat. And, all of those types of things lead into it as well. But yeah, other than just netballers, it's just a really big conversation at the moment. It's amazing, in sport, that netball and Stephanie and Netball Scotland and everyone are moving towards it and doing more.
I actually wonder if on the flip side of that, there is a bias towards women being that kind of driving force in terms of climate change and making a positive difference. Is that actually a good thing? Like, should we be putting more onto the male population to actually be taking on some of the onus and the responsibility of this, do you think?
I think 100% this is everyone's responsibility. But as women, we need to lead by example. And it's almost planting the seeds, making everyone feel like that they're coming on this journey with us, but we know what we need to do. So we just need to crack on and do it. We've been waiting long enough. And if we don't take the reins and if we don't step up and do it, it's not going to happen. So sport and women in sport are the perfect catalyst to be able to make change and positive impact. So we need to get a wriggle on now, and we need to make sure that we're making a really positive impact and bringing everyone on the journey with us.
Do you agree, Jess?
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, I do think it's everyone's responsibility. I really do. So we have to take action now to see any positive impact over the next few years. But I'm all for women leading the way on this. But I do just think it's across the board. Everyone needs to get involved. Every single person needs to play their part in some way to make a difference to the planet.
Yeah, and I really liked what you were saying earlier about the position of netball players at the elite level to influence and to use their power. And there was an article with a former Australian netball player, Amy Steele, who spoke with the Sustainability Report about her experience of her final game of elite netball. So Amy, if you don't know, unfortunately suffered severe heat stroke caused by extreme temperatures, faulty air conditioning, and playing a full game in goal defence, which is hard enough on its own.
Gosh.
And she was forced to retire from netball early, unfortunately, due to the impact of the heat stroke. And she actually cites climate change as the main reason for this career-ending incident, as well as sports' inability to protect athletes from the most extreme weather conditions. So, Steph, as netball gains more media exposure and our athletes are becoming more like icons as the sport grows, how important is it that our athletes continue to use their voices as public figures and speak up on issues like climate change?
It's so important. It's a wasted opportunity if we don't, right? So we see it in other sports. You know, you've got Lewis Hamilton championing Black Lives Matter. You've got Simone Biles and her mental health, and Megan Rapinoe and equal pay. Why are we not at the front? And we even see like David Pocock's campaign in Australia, like the Cool Down, and Liz Ellis has signed up to, got over, I think, 500 elite athletes just in Australia signed up to that. If we don't collectively come together to work towards solutions to the climate crisis, we're ruining it for ourselves and for everyone else and for those to come. So the athlete's voice is the ultimate platform because they're so respected. They can influence, you know, it's that ability to morally show folk who are signed up and invested in these athletes and invested in the sport to say, we have a chance here and an opportunity. And it's really simple because all you need to do are make small changes in your life to be able to then collectively help everyone, you know, make those big changes on scale. So it cannot be underestimated how important the athlete's voice is on this matter.
And do you think it's becoming more mainstream for athletes to step outside of just the just being on the sports field and really have a voice in the political and social sphere? You know, we saw obviously with Marcus Rashford as well, you know, his influence on the government. You know, is this really just, is it commonplace now, or do you think there's still more work to do?
I think athletes are more comfortable voicing their opinions and voicing their perspectives and kind of what they're passionate about, certainly. And I think social media and just the way that we live now, it has allowed that to happen. But also because it's for positive change, right? I don't think I've seen anyone come out and say something controversial that is not for the right reasons. Do you know what I mean? So everyone's using their platform because they are human as well. And this is a human issue. And so that's why we need to make sure that we're not silencing that. We're listening to it, and we're taking all the information and the evidence and the facts that we have, and then listening to the experts like Carbon Jacked who can guide us on that journey to make sure that what we think and what we do align and that we're getting some positive results.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And I think another area is around the kind of major events scene. So we know that major sporting events such as Commonwealth Games and World Cups clearly have a negative environmental impact, yet they are crucial in terms of the growth of the sport's participation across the globe and have major cultural and social significance. So with this in mind, Jess, what do you think the future looks like for major sporting events?
First of all, I am all for events. They are major emitters of, you know, CO2, and they do impact the environment negatively. However, we want them, we love them, we need them. Mm-hmm. So it's about building into the event planning, you know, sustainability measures. It needs to be up there at the top with, like, you know, when you're setting your budgets, when you're working out the schedule for the event. It needs to be integrated from the beginning, and it hasn't been done so far because, well, it hasn't been a priority, and also it takes some time, and also you need some expertise there, and of course it does cost something to do it. So granted, it hasn't been a priority yet, but it's definitely going that way. And, well, for example, this summer's Birmingham Commonwealth Games is going to be the first major multi-sport games which is carbon neutral, so you can see things are definitely going in the right direction. And Tokyo itself had loads of plans to be, you know, be really sustainable and be one of the most sustainable games ever. So it's all about building it in from the beginning. And it's like a wholesale change. It's a culture change within organisations that sustainability comes hand in hand with your other priorities.
Agree with everything that Jess has as said there, like you have to plan it in from the beginning. It can't be an afterthought. It needs to be the thought at the beginning, just as you sit there and you plan out your event security and your production and everything like that. It is integral to the event. And the event is so important, because if we don't have the event, you don't have the platform for the athletes. It's that cyclical thing, right? So you need it, but you need to make sure that you are aware of what your opportunities are within that space, to make sure that you're capitalizing from that and then leading the way, because we've seen what we can do over the last 2 years, right? How we can react and how we can implement things that we never thought we would have to do. So why can we not do it for climate? Why can we not do it for sustainability?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm quite sort of personally pleased to hear both your answers. You know, it's not a case of, well, we shouldn't have these major sporting events, because there has to be that recognition that things like Commonwealth Games they're almost like a tool for like cultural unification and like, you know, uniting people together. And there's so much social and cultural significance in it that I think we need to find a way of being able to have best of both worlds. So I think your answers are both really interesting.
Well, you can also make an impact with it. You can also make a change with it. The fact that we're having the Commonwealth Games and that it is carbon neutral is generating more conversation around it. They're planning to build a forest. You know, it's educating people. And part of it is lots of people don't actually know what to do on sustainability. It's a weird word. It doesn't actually encompass what, you know, fighting climate change is. And so it's all about getting people to understand what small steps they can take. And so if it's a conversation starter with the Birmingham Commonwealth Games being carbon neutral, then hopefully people then will start thinking about what they can do.
Yeah, I really think that education piece is so strong. And I think something as well that I think it's worth mentioning is there's a lot of kind of greenwashing that we see with businesses and things like that. So for anyone who doesn't know, Jess, could you just explain what that kind of is?
Greenwashing, well, it basically is when a company maybe falsifies some facts, some statements around their sustainability credentials or something they've done to make it seem more eco or environmentally friendly than it is. Stephanie, I don't know if you want to add to that. I saw you smiling. So.
That was a very diplomatic answer that you had there, Jess. I enjoyed that. Well done.
I think it's really interesting, actually, Luce, that you mentioned that, because we see this happen. That the main example that sticks in my head is Pride. You get a lot of rainbow washing every time it's Pride Month, and suddenly all of these companies have got all of these rainbow merchandise, but actually they're not making a tangible difference and actually committing to making a difference in their day-to-day work.
Yeah, they're not backing it up, essentially. So, for example, a company, a business, a sports team could say, oh, we're going to be really green this season. And they say all this and they put out some Instagram posts, you know, with some green emojis on them and a tree.
Yeah.
And maybe... and then actually they don't actually do anything. They're still, you know, driving everywhere. They're still eating like a really high meat diet. They're still, I don't know how, you know, so many different things. And it's just about backing up and being open and honest and truthful and just being good people as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think I do think, though, we are seeing a definite shift, particularly in recent years, towards sustainability becoming a more prominent part of the conversation in daily people's lives, you know, and the wider sporting world outside of netball is no exception to this. The EFL's Green Club Scheme launched last year, and this is a way of benchmarking clubs' environmental rating, and they provide advice and funding to clubs to let them access the scheme. Jess, if we measured the Vitality Netball Superleague clubs in a similar way, what do you expect the results could look like?
So netball could do better. There's room for improvement. But the positive thing is that things are moving in the right direction. Basically, there hasn't been that much done to date, but different clubs are doing different things. Sirens, for example, obviously we already know, are taking action. London Pulse, in fact, we did an education around sustainability, like a session with them last year or the year before. And clubs are doing their own little bits and things are really starting to happen. Like the VNSL are going to plant a tree for every single goal scored in round 15. I know it's part of England Netball's strategy. So, and also, as we said before, players' voices are so important. And, you know, there's a lot of conversations and Sky working on a series about, you know, what players are doing what within the climate change space. So it's happening. And I think now COVID is hopefully disappearing slightly, we will see more and more take place as time goes on.
Yeah, I really like that. It does feel very hopeful actually at the moment, kind of quietly in the background of all the, IPCC report, and everything is very, very damning, but actually there are these sort of glimmers of hope throughout. And Steph, what specifically are you optimistic for over the coming years in terms of sustainability and netball?
Gosh, there's so many things I'm optimistic for. I'm probably the most optimistic person in the world, to be fair.
I think I'd probably challenge you on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. We can have an optimistic
I don't want to deal with you. I've even got like a little jumper that has it embroidered on it, right? So
I love that.
Look, for me, I just want this to not be tokenistic. I need this to be, and I want this to be something that has longevity and is meaningful and impactful. I think over the coming years, we need to see the behavior change happen. And it's not like lip service. It's not saying we're doing something and then we're just kind of letting it happen and not happen. It's we're committed to it. This is what we're doing, and actually showing folk these are our results. And there's so much potential for us to make change, right? So it's going to take a while. But if we can evidence that and show people and bring them on the journey, I think that just encourages everyone else to make those changes, even if it's just at your local club. What can you be doing? Making sure that we're carpooling to matches, making sure that when you've got catering out for opposition teams, etc., that you're doing it in the best possible way. And every club is going to be so different. So when you're talking about all the clubs in the league and how they're kind of comparing, everyone's got their own situation and their own circumstances, but it's what you're doing in your situation with your circumstances to allow you to optimize that. So for me, it's just all about continually plugging away at it. It's something that we are always going to have to do. It's not just, we do that for 2 years and it goes away. Yep. This is forever now. This is part of life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's music to my ears, to be honest. And so, Jess, the same question to you. What are you optimistic for in this space?
I am optimistic about individuals taking action, and basically the education of people and players across netball, fans, players, coaches, staff, everyone understanding a bit more about it and understanding how they can play their bit. Basically, that's the thing I'm most excited about, and the thing I think will have the most impact.
Yeah. I think it is really heartening. Sometimes it can feel like a lot, there's bad news all the time, and there's, 1.5 degrees and all of these different things. And there feels like there's a lot of doom and gloom around it in terms of, that area. But actually, I really like what you're saying about education and those small changes that you can make to help you feel like you're really making a difference. I could probably talk to you guys about the environment all day, but I will move on to our rapid fire just before we finish. So we've just got a few quick questions for you. Firstly, Steph, what is your best day-to-day sustainability hot tip?
My best day today is meal planning. I am a mum of 3 small children who can be particularly fussy. So for me, it's, at the start of the week, what are we having this week? And my shopping is very tailored to what we need. So I'm trying to reduce our food waste in the house of 5. So
absolutely. I love that as well. And it's great because you already know what you need to cook in the night. So you don't have to come in and suddenly decide.
Don't get decision fatigue.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you on that one. So Jess, which places should people go to for informative and positive climate news?
Well, I would say Carbon Jacked is a really good source of news. We've got loads of blogs. We do quite a lot on our social media about how people can live more sustainably. But other than us, there's also Carbon Brief, which are really good. They give really good roundups of what's happening in the world and everything about climate change, really.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
And finally, Steph, what netball position do you think David Attenborough would play?
Possibly my favourite question ever.
That is a great one. Do you know, I actually think he'd be like a little goal attack.
Nice.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Obviously now his knee's probably not so good. I think a little goal attack. Be great at that.
I said wing attack. I just think he's so like positive.
He's definitely in that circle.
Making things happen.
In that circle.
Do you think? Yeah, no, I love it. I thought maybe a goal defense, protector, like defending the planet, all that kind of thing. But
no, he's out there shaking it up, showing people what's happening, making them aware. Yeah. Correct.
No, okay, yeah, I'm sold. You convinced me now. Goal attack, definitely. Thank you both so much for coming on the podcast. This has been really fantastic, and I think just one of my most heartwarming and positive episodes that we've done. So yeah, really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, ladies.
Oh, what an awesome conversation. I really loved that. And something we forgot to mention as well is that loads of people from Netball Scotland are also Carbon Jacked members. So, you know, if you want to be like your favourite netball player, get a Carbon Jacked membership.
Or like us.
Exactly, yeah, or like us. The notorious, like iconic netball people that we are.
World renowned.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, it's time to take a look ahead to the next week of matches, round 15 of the Vitality Netball Superleague. This year, we've teamed up with Sideline TV to pick our Showdown of the week, highlighting 2 key players who we can't wait to see go head-to-head. What are we looking at this week, Luce?
Yeah, so this was a really interesting one, but we've narrowed it down to Rhinos versus Wasps, and in particular, Ziggy Berger on Josie Huckle. I think both of these sides, they'll consider it as a must-win game. Rhinos for their place in the top 4, Wasps for pride, if nothing else. So they'll definitely be gunning for the win. I think with these two, Josie has an incredible presence in the circle, but Ziggy's been really strong in terms of her form in the last couple of games. She's on an upward trajectory. And I think it'll be a question of whether Josie can get inside of her head. I think if you look at the composition of the wider teams, for Rhinos, their attack end has been that area of concern and lacking in consistency. But for Wasps, their defensive end has probably been one of their strongest elements. So I think it really could go either way. And I think it's going to be a really intriguing battle.
Yeah, and also not just the consideration for Rhinos in terms of top 4, but also Wasps in terms of fast 5s.
Oh, damn, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, at the moment they are sitting outside of the top 8, which means they wouldn't qualify. So yeah, they'll be definitely wanting to win a few more games towards the end of the season.
Imagine a world of fast 5 where Rachel Dunn is not present.
I don't want to imagine that universe.
Inconceivable.
I don't want to live in that world. Let us know what you think about this matchup by heading to our socials, and don't forget to tag @sideline.tv.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Qtr Time. We honestly can't wait to bring you more netball chat and a wrap up of round 15 next week.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media @Qtr Time Pod for the latest netball updates. Get involved in the conversation online by letting us know what you thought of the matches this weekend and which players have stood out for you.
We'd also really appreciate if you could just take a second to rate and review the podcast, as it helps other people to find us. If you enjoy listening to us, do let us know. Do spread the word of your netball pals so that even more people can get involved in the conversation. Don't forget as well to check out our partners Carbon Jacked. It is Earth Day today, on the day this comes out.
Yay, happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. And we do have that exclusive Netball Pod 30% discount on their membership. So if you want to do good in the world, you love your netball, this is the perfect thing for you. Take care, everyone, and see you soon. Bye.